Hey, what is going on, everybody? James here with Heavyweight Politics, and the CDC has apparently set a new eviction ban going all the way through October 3rd. That's right, the eviction moratorium has been extended by the CDC of all people, which begs the question, where's their power end? Where does it end? How much far-reaching influence do they have on society when the CDC can control whether people can be actually evicted from their rental properties, of all things? Now, of course, the Democrats, as well as Biden, their solutions to government-created problems is always to introduce, of course, more government interference. And that's what this is, right? This is a government-created problem. People are really quick to say right now, either A, you know what, COVID's caused this eviction problem, right? You know, COVID's caused people not be able to work. Or, you know what, these people should have saved up money. You know, they should have been prepared, and so it's their fault that they can't pay their rent. When the reality is there is someone to blame for people not being able to pay their rent. I'm not going to blame the people. I'm just not. What the person to blame more than anything else is, or not really person, but the entity is the government. All right, they're the ones who locked down the society. They're the ones who locked down the economy and said, you're not allowed to produce. You're not allowed to go to work. You're not allowed to support your family. So it's their fault these people don't have the money to pay rent in the first place, right? So the government creates the problem, and the government then comes in as the hero to their own, to the problem they created in the first place. The government made it so these people can't work and can't support their family, and now the government's having to come in and try to introduce even more red tape into the problem by setting up this eviction moratorium that's going to go all the way through October 3rd, with, of course, no concern at all for the people who actually, own the land. All right, they're the ones who own the house. They're the ones who are paying for the upkeep. I guarantee you, the government is not giving them a break on their property taxes this tax season, right? The fact that they are telling these people that you don't have to pay your landlord, and your landlord doesn't have or cannot actually evict you from the property, yet they're still going to turn around to the landlord and say, we are taking our property tax for those rental properties, is absurd. Right? There's no reason any of these renters who are affected by this should pay anything in property tax for their rental properties whatsoever, just due to the fact that the government has made it impossible for them to profit off of it in the first place, right? But let's get into it. We got a story right here from the AP. Of course, CDC issues new eviction ban for most of the U.S. through October 3rd. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention issued a new eviction moratorium that will last until October 3rd as the Biden administration sought to quell intensifying criticism from progressives that it was allowing vulnerable renters to lose their homes during a pandemic. The ban announced Tuesday will keep millions in their homes as the coronavirus Delta variant has spread and states have been slow to release federal rental aid, and would temporarily halt evictions in counties where substantial and high levels of virus transmission, and would cover the areas where 90% of the U.S. population lives. Okay, so here we are talking about, of course, the Delta variant again. The Delta variant that so far has a much lower death rate than, kill rate basically than the standard, COVID virus as far as we can tell at this point, right? The Delta variant, it's bad, we don't want variants going around. If you talk to your doctor, see if you can't get vaccinated. If you get the vaccine, if you can, that's fantastic. Get it. If you my doctor recommended me not to. I'm not getting it, but I've already had COVID as well, so chance of me getting the Delta variant is still very, very low. But Delta variants, as far as we can tell, is not nearly as deadly as regular COVID. So. But the fact that we're still going to be halting on this, and this is going to be their big play next, right? They're going to look at the Delta variant and say, here it is, a new COVID, more lockdowns. And the fact they're actually setting up the eviction moratoriums all the way through October 3rd leads me to believe, yes, more lockdowns are coming probably for a lot of states. They're coming to a town near you, I'm telling you that. All right, already here in North Carolina, the local Walmart has set up a sign saying, no mask, no entry again, like they did during the main parts of COVID. Now, admittedly, I walked in without a mask and no one said a word to me, but I can tell you this, about 90% of the people, they went ahead and wore the masks, right? So whether it's coming from the government or where it's going to be coming from these big businesses that are going to be forcing it down everyone's throat, I don't know, but there's more levels of lockdowns coming. I can promise you that. So the announcement was a reversal from the Biden administration, which allowed an earlier moratorium to lapse over the weekend after saying the Supreme Court ruling prevented an extension. That ripped open a dramatic split between the White House and progressive Democrats, who insisted the administration had to do more to prevent some 3.6 million Americans from losing their homes during a COVID-19 crisis. Speaking with the White House on Tuesday, Biden said he pushed the CDC to again consider its options, but he still seemed hesitant on whether the new moratorium could withstand lawsuits about the constitutionality, saying he has sought some opinions of experts as to whether the Supreme Court would approve the measure. The bulk of the constitutional scholarship says that it is not likely to pass constitutional muster, Biden said. But there are several key scholars who thinks that it may and is worth the effort. The president added the moratorium, even if it does get challenged in court, will probably give some additional time for states and cities to release billions of dollars in federal relief to the renters. And there you have it. He's basically admitting that he knows this is going to get struck down, but like they did in many other states where these lockdowns were considered unconstitutional according to, of course, local state constitutions, they just simply went, well, let's just change up the lockdowns by one word, and then they'll have to resue us again. So at least the process then takes time, and then they can still keep their lockdowns. This is strictly just, he's basically trying to find a way to get around the Supreme Court on this one, and it's strictly done because he knows how long it will take for it to get to the Supreme Court in the first place. That's the big issue, right? No matter if you filed your lawsuit tomorrow, it's still going to be weeks and weeks and weeks before it ever hits the Supreme Court. So that's weeks and weeks and weeks. Of course, renters don't get paid, and people can still squat in their houses. And here's the thing. If you're living in a place that's still locked down, yes, I do have pity for you. If you don't live in a place that's still locked down, listen, I get it. This is the government that created this problem. I 100% understand it. But just because it's not your fault you're in the situation, it is your responsibility to get yourself out of the situation. Right? That's an old saying that's been, that a lot of people seem to forget these days. That just because something's not your fault doesn't mean it's not your responsibility to fix it, right? It might not be your fault that you live in a crummy neighborhood and that people try to break into your house. Yeah, it's your responsibility to put some damn locks on your door, right? It's your responsibility to carry a firearm to protect yourself. Those are your responsibility. It's not your fault that people are bad, but it's your responsibility to take these measures and safety in your own hands. Same goes for here, right? Just because the government was the one who shut you down, I'm not going to blame you for not being able to pay rent, but now jobs are open across this country. You got to start getting out there. Everywhere is hiring, and I mean everywhere. And you might have to have a complete crap job. I understand that. I've had some crap jobs. I'll tell you what. I've had some really crappy sales jobs. I've had retail jobs. I've had to work Black Fridays. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to crap jobs. I understand it. But at the end of the day, you have to find a way to get past this, right? And also, it's worth mentioning, with the way the government's actually interfering with, the way the rental system kind of works in this country right now, I'm not joking when I say if you're able to talk to your landlord. I know a lot of people don't typically like landlords for whatever dumbass reason. The fact is they're the reason why you have a roof over your head you can fucking afford. There I go. Now I'm swearing. Now I'm gonna... But they're the reason why you have a roof over your head in the first place, right? You would more than likely not be able, you would not have bought that house, right? You are renting there for a reason, all right? You chose to rent over buy. That is on you because either you didn't have enough credit to rent or to buy, or either because you didn't have the money to buy. Either way, now you still have a roof over your head that's better than what you have had prior, right? So landlords are not bad. Let's just set that up right now. But in all seriousness, if you're having trouble and you can only pay certain portions, talk to your landlord. You might be able to work something out here. And the fact that the government is getting so involved right now does give you a little bit of leverage here, in the sense that the fact that you want to still pay them something goes a long way. All right, especially if you're renting like I am a house, right? If I went to a landlord and said, hey, I know the eviction moratorium's here, and I can't really pay rent all the way, so I know you can't really evict me, but I still want to pay you at least, 80%, 60% of the rent, and just try to make this right and try to work it out. More than likely, they're going to still work with you. That's the thing. People aren't just mindless zombies. They like working with one another. They like trying to find some way to make things work. So no joke, talk to them, get a job. It's what you need to do right now. Because guess what? This thing might say they're lasting till October 3rd, but as Biden has fully admitted, it's not going to pass constitutional muster. It's just not. They know it. They know it won't last long. And then who can they blame? They will blame the Supreme Court. They will blame Kavanaugh, and they will blame Trump, saying, well, he got 2 free Supreme Court justice picks that he should not have got. That's the way they're going to run it, right? That's the way they're going to run it. I can promise you this. That's the way they're going to run it. This is going to be marked down in the Supreme Court, and they're going to say, "Oh, it's Trump's fault because he appointed 2 Supreme Court justices he shouldn't have had." Right? We need to either, let's face it, we either need to court pack or we need to find some way to remove Kavanaugh and it was ACB off the Supreme Court. But let's get back in a bit more about what Biden's saying here. So the president added the moratorium, even if it gets challenged in court, will probably, yeah, that's what's said. All right, so politically, the extension could help heal a rift with liberal Democrat lawmakers who are calling on the president to take some executive action to keep renters in their homes. The administration has spent the past several days scrambling to reassure Democrats and the country that it could find a way to limit damage from potential evictions through the use of federal aid. But the pressure mounted as key lawmakers said it was not enough. Top Democrat leaders joined Rep. Cori Bush. God, she's such a... Oh, God. Cori Bush. She's a loon of loons. I'll tell you what. Just a loon of loons. Who has been camped outside the U.S. Capitol for several days. Overnight, Monday, Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rep. Jimmy Gomez, and others gave her a brief reprieve so she could rest indoors. Of course, because she couldn't even stay outdoors for more than a couple of days. The freshman congresswoman once lived in a car as a young mother and pointed to that experience to urge the White House to prevent widespread evictions. Or you could urge the government to, I don't know, open up the economy. You know, that would go a long way into helping people be able to pay their damn rent. If they could get a damn job, they could pay their rent. It's as simple as that. It's not very complicated. So Cori Bush, yes, apparently she's been camped out by the Capitol, and I'm just going to pull this up real quick. All right, so here we have Cori Bush's, let's just face it, just political stunt here of her just sitting out by the steps of the Capitol building with, of course, a huge box of Oreos and snacks, and of course she has cozy, clothes and blankets all around her, and of course, it wouldn't be Washington D.C. or it wouldn't be a city if they weren't drinking some good old Starbucks, right? Fantastic. Oh, you can't even see Starbucks on the screen, can you? Right over there, some Starbucks. And that's all it says. This is political theater. This is all it really is, right? Obviously, they've already said she took multiple breaks to go rest inside, right? She didn't even really stay. And it's during the time when it's nice in DC, right? It is good weather in DC right now. She didn't pick a rainy day. She didn't pick a bad day. She didn't pick, it's not winter. It's a nice day in DC, right? And of course, she can be out there with, all of her colleagues and everyone who wants to support this measure, of course, where we're going to use the government to interfere with our lives even more and more and more. And of course, come on in and be the hero of the problem they are the ones who actually created. But you're just wanted to take a quick moment to pay attention here to just a great example of just awful political theater. So, of course, back to the main article here. As she wiped her eyes before the crowd at the Capitol after CDC announcement, Bush said that she was shedding joyful tears. "My God, I don't believe we did this," she said. "We just did the work, just by loving folks to keep millions in their homes. It's not their homes. It's not their homes. Come on." That's the issue here, is the fact it's not their homes. They don't own the property. They don't pay the property taxes there. They barely do any of the upkeep, right? They're getting a discount for a place to live in a way when paying rent. Now, I know in the long run, obviously, you want to buy over rent. So when I say discount, I mean in the immediate, not in the long haul. Again, these are people who primarily, of course, either don't have the credit or the funds to buy a house. And guess what? They get a roof over their head because someone else put in that effort. Someone else put in the effort to buy that house. All right? They didn't put the effort. The landowner did. Right? The landowner They're the ones who did this. This isn't their house, right? The landlord owns it. So, no, you do not keep millions of people in their homes. They don't own the homes. It's not their homes. What you did is make it so they cannot be evicted for not paying rent. Now, here's the beauty. Right now, we are open through most states. The majority of states are all open. So the fact that this eviction moratorium is affecting the majority of this country is ridiculous. And again, Biden even said this won't pass constitutional muster, but it doesn't matter because it buys them a few weeks, as well as they can blame Trump and the Supreme Court when it fails. Why are people in Florida having an eviction moratorium at all? Why are people in Texas having an eviction moratorium at all? Why are people here in North Carolina having an eviction moratorium at all? It makes no sense. Things are open, places are hiring, you can go out, you can get a job. It just is absolutely insane that this would even be a suggestion. And of course, again, the landowners, are they going to get a break from this? No, of course not. Now, the rest of the article just kind of goes into, of course, Nancy Pelosi saying how all help is here. And of course, you know, they're really pushing Nancy Pelosi a lot. I'll be honest, I've seen Nancy Pelosi out more than I've seen Biden and Kamala Harris these days. But it's just them going on talking about how great it is with a bunch of comments saying, you know, how fantastic that they were able to get this passed. So I'm not going to go through every last bit of it, but at least wanted to get to the idea again. The CDC has now apparently moved their influence past anything medical at this point. It is now saying, hey, we can stop you from evicting people from your property. Your property. We can stop you from evicting people from your property. The CDC has control over that. Right? Not just the federal government, but the CDC. They're the ones who have control over saying you can't evict someone from your property. I don't know how far their influence really spreads, but at this point, this is absolutely insane. The fact that unelected officials can pass laws and mandates that we must live by. I did not elect the people who serve on the CDC. You did not elect the people who serve on the CDC, right? Yet they can create basically, you know, they say, well, it's not a law, it's a mandate. They're basically creating laws when they're not elected officials. This did not go through the Congress. This did not go through Senate. This went through the CDC. It went through bureaucracy, which of course is the method of all forms of governmental madness. Either way, what do you think? Leave a comment below. Should we actually have these eviction moratoriums? Obviously, I'm on the side of no. It ain't your property. Tough luck. Blame the government for your problem because guess what? They're the ones who caused it in the first place. But maybe there's a reason why we should have it. Comment below, you know, what do you think? Either way, if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you like, subscribe. Of course, we're on other channels like BitChute, Minds, as well as on Twitch as well. If you want to, you know, check us out over there. We stream usually Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Either way, looking forward to see you again next time. Till then, peace out.